Allah tells us in a Hadith Qudsi that He feels hesitation over nothing as He hesitates when He takes the soul of a believing servant, because that person dislikes death and Allah does not wish to disappoint him. This divine hesitation should not be read merely as a theological nuance. It speaks to the raw human reality of loss. Death does not simply cause sorrow for the one departing, it often devastates those who remain. We cry out from our pain, "Why, O Allah, did they have to leave?" especially at moments when life at last seemed to be settling and moving forward. Speaking personally, I lost my mother between my nikah and my wedding, and the sorrow has remained with me ever since. The connection I felt when she was alive continues, and sometimes it even feels stronger now. Paradoxically, absence can deepen attachment because we are given new ways to benefit those who have departed. While they lived, our help and affection were direct. Now we may perform righteous acts on their behalf, giving charity, making dua, reciting the Qur'an with sincere intention for their benefit, performing voluntary acts of worship deeds that can continue to benefit them after their death. These offerings on their behalf may be more valuable than anything we could have done for them while they lived. Yet our lives are undeniably altered by their passing. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, exemplifies both an ideal way of life and a human prophetic way of grieving. He personally buried nearly all of his immediate family during his lifetime. His beloved wife, Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, 6 of his 7 children, his mother when he was 6, his grandfather when he was 9, and he witnessed the burial of Abu Talib under the most difficult of circumstances. The Prophet ﷺ's sorrow was profoundly human, yet it remained perfectly prophetic in its balance. Consider the touching moment after the death of his son Ibrahim alayhi salam. While holding the lifeless child, tears fell from the Prophet ﷺ's eyes, and he said, "The eyes shed tears and the heart is grieved. And we are hurting over your loss, O Ibrahim, but we will not say except what pleases our Lord." In that instance, he showed both Rahmah, deep mercy, and Rida, contentment with Allah's decree. He had no doubt about Ibrahim's fate with Allah, and yet he felt the pain of separation deeply. This is the model: to be tender in feeling while firm in submission. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, may Allah have mercy on him, explains that mercy and contentment exist in degrees. The highest station is to possess both Rahmah and Rida together, to let the eyes cry while the heart remains pleased with Allah's decree. A lower level is to feel mercy but lack contentment, remaining disturbed despite compassion. Another state is to have contentment without mercy, to accept the decree but feel no compassion, and the lowest is to possess neither, resulting in grief mixed with resentment toward divine decree. The prophetic example is the epitome of the highest rank, because he displayed sorrow without losing acceptance, mercy without abandoning contentment. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah have mercy on him, addressed a related question about outward responses among earlier pious people. Observers sometimes noticed that some eminent scholars or ascetics who lost children did not outwardly cry. One example is al-Fudayl ibn Iyad, who lost his son Yusuf while the child was praying behind him. Al-Fudayl appeared at the funeral with a noticeable smile, which puzzled onlookers. He explained that he wished to show Allah his acceptance of the divine decree. Ibn Taymiyyah noted that in comparing such responses to the Prophet ﷺ's demonstration of grief, the Prophet ﷺ's manner is superior because he did not exchange mercy for acceptance. The Prophet ﷺ did not feel compelled to suppress his compassion in order to display contentment. He embodied both simultaneously. The lesson is that while outward comportment varies among sincere people, the ideal is to grieve with compassion while remaining inwardly surrendered to Allah's will. Funeral rites and the Janazah prayer serve the living in essential ways. After returning from the graveyard, the emptiness of the home becomes undeniable, and the quiet of places where the departed used to be is a constant reminder. We also become more aware of the deeds the deceased might have wanted to perform and can no longer do. The living inherit responsibilities to continue the good they taught, to sustain their virtuous practices, and to contribute to the longevity of their positive influence. Carrying forward what a parent or mentor taught, honoring their etiquette, preserving their generosity, living by their advice allows their scrolls of deeds to continue accruing benefit even after their death. In this sense, some forms of service and remembrance become ongoing channels of reward to the deceased. One of the most consoling ways to respond to loss is not merely to perform good deeds for the departed, but to be a source of comfort to others who mourn the same loss. When you help heal another grieving person, Allah begins to mend your own heart. Acts of compassion, a widow focusing on raising her children, a child attending to a widowed parent, or family members supporting one another in practical ways, convert suffering into meaningful service. This transformation is among the most elevated forms of grieving because it simultaneously uplifts the bereaved and perpetuates the good legacy of the one who has passed. Memories, too, serve a dual role, sometimes as painful reminders, sometimes as gifts sustaining the mourner. Cherish the moments you had together and fashion new rituals of remembrance through dua, charity, and stories that can be celebrated as continuations of love in the life to come. Death is an unsurpassed teacher. Those who have gone before instruct us through the deeds they did, the hidden struggles that may become visible only after their departure, and the duties they leave that we must now assume. If we take the wisdom our parents gave and act upon it, that obedience and patience may be a cause for elevation in the hereafter. There's a Hadith Qudsi that highlights the immense worth of patience when a loved one is taken. Allah tells us that the believer who remains patient upon the loss of someone dear may be rewarded with nothing less than paradise. This is not a mere consolation. It is a profound promise that the testing of separation, met with patience, has monumental significance. Grief wounds, it can fracture joy, disrupt plans, and cause one to question the will to go on. Yet within that pain, new bonds may be forming, a deeper closeness with Allah, renewed care for family members, and an emphasis on what truly endures. Trials remind us that this worldly life is fleeting and that attachment to transient pleasures is precarious. The Prophet ﷺ advised frequent remembrance of death because it dissolves the power of temporary enjoyments. A heart rooted in the reality that indeed we belong to Allah and to Him we shall return, gains perspective on loss and on the priorities that matter. To make these ideas practical, consider specific acts that benefit both the deceased and those who grieve. Channeling sorrow into charity, sadaqah is a central remedy. Gifts made in the name of the departed toward feeding the poor, supporting orphans, schooling students, constructing or maintaining a mosque, or digging a well, create ongoing rewards that can reach the one who has passed. Reciting the Qur'an with sincere intention for their benefit, making dua on their behalf, performing voluntary fasts, and similar acts sustain a link of mercy. These practices both honor the memory and create continuous benefit. Families might form recurring charitable practices that reflect the deceased's values, establishing a small fund, sponsoring a student, maintaining habitual acts of kindness, or teaching younger relatives the lessons and virtues of the departed. Even telling stories about their compassion and character helps preserve their influence in the lives of those who remain. Grief waves in rhythms. Sometimes it is sharp, sometimes dull, and sometimes it returns unexpectedly. The prophetic example validates tears and feeling hollowed out as natural and not opposed to faith. Tears are the language of love and mercy. Yet the Prophet ﷺ's model also teaches that even in sorrow, the tongue and the will should reflect trust in Allah's wisdom. The balance is not a contradiction but a sign of maturity. Allow the heart to ache while remaining verbally and inwardly surrendered to divine decree. Community response is vital. The Janazah prayer, meals provided to the bereaved, quiet visits, and practical help sustain those left behind. When neighbors prepare food, assist with household tasks, or simply listen without judgment, they enact mercy and bring prophetic compassion to life. Such communal care prevents grief from becoming isolating. Shared sorrow is lighter to bear. Recognize, finally, that trials can be doors to spiritual elevation. Patience during separation, combined with humility and ongoing devotion, may yield rewards in ways beyond immediate understanding. In closing, allow these truths to shape daily conduct. Grieve with honesty, act with purpose, and maintain trust in the wisdom of Allah. Make dua and charity regular responses, keep reciting the Qur'an for the departed, and deliberately preserve their teachings in how you live and instruct others. Visit their graves to remember your ultimate return, but do not let memories trap you in endless despair. Instead, let them motivate continuous goodness. Seek comfort in community and in rituals that remind you of the transient nature of this world, and let sorrow refine your character rather than ruin it, so that the memory of those you love remains a source of blessing and hope.